Welcome to Purpose Living Podcast. Today we have a brand new episode and we are going to be talking about 4 healthy marriage tips. This is going to be interesting.
Why?
4 healthy marriage tips.
Yeah.
Talking about marriage, that's why.
I know, it's so good. Love and marriage.
Oh, take it away.
All right. Yes, so marriage actually takes effort and work if you want to have a thriving and healthy marriage, and knowing that we are all different in our personalities, the way we think, just the way we even communicate. It's so important to understand each other and to really be able to have each other's best interests, but as a team unit, and being able to have that as a center in our marriage. And so we have 4 tips today. And the first one that we're going to start with is to love unconditionally. And the reason why this is so powerful is because sometimes we have our best days and it's easy to love each other. And sometimes life happens and we all go through different seasons and different things in life. And it's loving in the midst of those times too. And so to be able to love each other at our best and love each other at our worst is really what marriage is all about. And I know, I've given him plenty of times when I wasn't very lovable, and he's had to still just continue just to press on and, walk with me through it. And just making sure that it's not based, our marriage isn't based on a contract of you do these things, I do these things, and we just kind of co-live together, but that we truly and genuinely love each other and are there for each other, whether we're in a good, happy moment or season, or it's a challenging one.
So let's start from here. Let's talk about this.
Okay.
I've heard different people with different opinion about this. Love is unconditional, right? And this is the unconditional part that we're trying to set straight for some people. So do you think marriage is 50-50, or is it 100-100? Or is it 60-40 some days, 70-30 some days? What's your thought?
Well, I think it's 100-100, but it's both parties giving their 100 in that season. Let's just say, for instance, we both have to be centered and all in 100% in the marriage. But there was times where I was having a kid every single year and I wasn't at my best. And, I was there and wanted to give 100, but I was also exhausted and, and drained sometimes. And so I don't know if it might have looked like 100, but it was my 100. Does that make sense?
So let's break that down.
Okay.
100. How do you define 100 when you talk about it? Because I feel like you just kind of said it's depending on the day, you might have more to give, and my day might be lower. Mm-hmm. So if we try to define that, let's put it this way: it is more your love is still gonna be there no matter what, but your effort. I think that's what people kind of don't truly define it. On the day, how much you give somebody, which is basically your effort that you're giving on that day, might be 70%. On another day, it might be completely 100% because the other person is just completely out of whack. They need you no matter what. Because I think a lot of times we come out, and I think a lot of people come out and they're like, it's like 70-30. It's like 50-50. You bring your 50, I bring my 50. It makes 100. But I think when it comes to loving unconditionally, the love part, you still love each other no matter what. That doesn't change. Now the circumstances that you're there, that you are in the moment, might change what I bring to the table and what she brings to the table, depending on how we're carrying ourselves on that, on depending on what I'm going through and the situations that we're going through on that day, right? She will be stronger. Like we always talk about, when I'm weak, she's strong. When she needs me, I'm usually standing there, right, to help. Um, More likely, she does that more than other times because I gotta check myself. I'm a straight shooter, right? So I gotta check myself. But I think a lot of times that's where the confusion comes into play when we talk about loving unconditionally. Loving unconditionally, and then when we talk about love, I think we got to be a little bit careful on how we say it because then people are posting this picture of, oh no, it's 50-50 or it's 70-30 because this and this and that. The circumstances, when you're talking about circumstances, situations that are happening in your life, yes, she's gonna come in stronger in certain things that I'm weak at, right? At that point, the weight kind of tilts. But when it comes to loving unconditionally, it's gotta be 100%.
Yeah, and I don't even necessarily love to look at it even in percentages. It's just love you, like I love you regardless of your response to me.
Trying to be practical. That's how people think these days.
Okay, well, whatever. I just like really look at it as like really not loving somebody based on them pleasing and doing exactly what you want them to do, but loving them even when maybe they are having a hard time, and just like that it's not conditional based on his response to me. Like even if, let's say, he's having a bad day and he doesn't give me the affection that I would maybe desire, that my love doesn't change for him, that I love him the exact same no matter what the circumstances and whatever is going on. And so it's just not letting it be circumstantial of, oh, like, okay, I love you today, but now I don't, so whatever. Like every day the love is consistent. Now the bond might vary. Sometimes you feel like you have, but the love is centered, grounded, and there. But we will talk about how to increase the bond too as you go along. But knowing that the love is unwavering and that there's nothing that he could do that would make me not love him, like nothing. And that's just a decision and set in stone that's just how it's going to be. And like it's unconditional, no matter what. Like, I'm going to love him for the rest of my days. And that's a decision.
I mean, people, let's be real. Just because somebody's getting on your nerves doesn't mean that, like, well, at that moment, I don't love them. No, that is, like, the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Like, of course somebody's going to, like, there's some days that I'm like, listen, you got to chill. Like, go be, I want to be by myself today. Like, right? Sometimes it's like, I don't want to touch. I don't want you to touch me. Stop touching me. That's just part of learning each other's language and knowing when to do that and when not to do those things. And as you grow in your marriage, you continue to learn a lot about each other, right? So,
but the steadfast love is there no matter what. So tip number 2 is to communicate openly. So we are quite opposite in our communication styles, and so we really had to work on this and learn this.
We're still working on it.
Yeah, that's true. He's more introverted and like a processor and takes it all in and processes it all. I am more, I like to let it all out and talk it all out. And then I kind of want an instant response where he needs to process it. And it took me a while to understand that he is processing and not just ignoring me. I think, right? Sometimes, once in a while. But that I had to give him that space to process and not expect that instant answer that I would prefer. But then he would also I'm just give me a couple words so that I know that you hear me. And so then we're learning to navigate that, so that way we both can understand and respect each other's styles. Not saying that one is right or wrong, they're just different, and learning how to do that And another thing that's helpful too is to really set aside like a time where you can just talk and communicate. Like, I think we live in a very busy, distracted world, and we just kind of go from one thing to the next if we're not intentional with actually taking that space and that time to, actually sit down and have that strong communication.
And one of the biggest thing that will affect your communication, culture,
Yeah.
your upbringing, circumstances and situations that you've gone through that you've experienced, those are going to play a huge role in your communication. Because for me, clearly, as you can see, we ain't the same background. But certain things that might hit her button will not hit my button because of where I came from, right? Same thing. You can be the same, race, whatever, right? And still, because of your upbringing, the household that you were brought up in, certain things might push your husband or your wife, and it might not push your buttons. But that doesn't mean that you just don't say anything about it. That's something I have learned to have to at least give her something for her to say, okay, he's paying attention to what I'm saying. Because when you just kind of go mute, fellas, you go mute, fellas, it's not good. Like, we're going down a rabbit hole. At least give them something for them to have that, like something so that they can say, okay, he's listening. It's not that he's just not listening or don't want to say anything. So those things play a huge role. And I think for the two of us, I think that's probably most of the time what's causing it, because a lot of times it might be something that she's taken super serious and I'm like, that's just part of life. She's like, we'll say something. So that's a huge one. But being open and being honest and just communicating about what's going on in your mind, even at the moment, if you just have to think about it, give me a second, let me think about this, and I'll come back to you when I'm ready.
Yeah, and I want to share this too. So the other day we were navigating and figuring out some fun little things, trials that we were going through, and he was sitting outside, and I could tell he was just processing and figuring some stuff out. And I like okay, does he want me to sit with him or does he want to be by himself? And so I was like sitting outside with him for a little bit, and so then I just asked him like, do you need space by yourself or do you want me to be here? And he's like, I just need space for myself. I'm like, cool. Okay. So I can respect that. I'll go inside, give you his space. So really actually having open communication of knowing what somebody's needs are in those moments, and then being able to talk about things as needed too, because there's times where you do just need to go by yourself and be quiet, and then come together and talk about it. And if you're in a deep communication where it's like a heavy topic or a highly emotional topic, that might not be the time to like bring it all out. It might be where when everybody's very calm and level-headed, that you can have a clear communication so that you never say anything that you're going to regret. Like that you both know that you love each other unconditionally, you both know you're on the same team, maybe even two different viewpoints on something, but we don't want to have like that communication time when there's a ton of emotions involved. We want to make sure that we're like, both at that level headed and ask like, do you want me to be here beside you or do you want to be by yourself? And then not taking like him saying he wants to be by himself, like I take no offense to that, like that, oh, you don't need me? Like, you could go in your head about that, but that's not really, he just needs time for himself. Okay, I'm going to respect that. I'm going to go be by myself, and just understanding what each other's needs are that way.
And once again, I'm going to give, and I think I heard this, I forgot who said this, like if you're that person who needs that time, give yourself a rule of thumb of, okay, I'm going to take 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, I need to come back and talk about it. I forgot who said that. Or take, for some people, maybe an hour might be too much, like maybe 45 minutes max, and then come back and just say, all right, I'm ready to talk about it, and let's talk about it. So don't try to sleep through the night and not say anything.
Yeah, or shove it under a rug, because avoiding is a different story. Like, you don't want to like, oh, well, I don't want to talk about it, so I'm just going to pretend it never happened, and then it's just shoved under. So communicating is important, but finding the time and the place for that communication is also helpful. Good. Which brings us to tip number 3, and that is prioritizing quality time. So communication takes quality time, but also just quality time to do something that you just enjoy to do together, because a relationship is built on, actually having time together. And, especially with young kids, I think it can be easy just in passing everything be about the kids and different things like that. So actually we started to train and work out together. And to me, I feel like that's such a good bonding time, quality time for us. He's coaching me on some training. And just finding something that you enjoy as a couple. I mean, we actually would watch Survivor. I love watching much TV, but that's one show that we both will sit down together, and it was just, okay, we're completely unplugged, like just spending time together, no other distractions, nothing else there, that we're just like being together and enjoying each other's presence.
Yep. Prioritizing time, quality time.
Yes.
No, you need to have that, because when you start to get too busy, you can easily start to get in your head of, okay, does she need me? Does she not need me? Those things can become kind of creep up on you, and that's when you start to make stories in your head. But when you have a quality time and you start checking in with each other and just kind of see how everybody's doing, everything's going, those times will help you. And just doing something simple of just you. We have 5 kids. So, to a point, we just need time for ourselves so that we can catch up and see how everybody's doing. And sometimes it could be just us sitting down on the deck in the back. Maybe we don't want to feel like watching TV, which I'll actually advise to do that at least once a week. To stay away from the noises and just kind of sit down and enjoy, or just lay down on the couch and just cuddle with each other.
Yeah, but really prioritizing, like, if it's sometimes like, I think we're pretty good at just kind of making it happen. But if that's not, like, if you're busy running and you're doing a lot, make sure that you put it in your calendar. Like, it could be every Wednesday night from 8 to 9 is our time just to bond. Sometimes things have to be scheduled in order for them to actually happen.
Yeah.
Number 4, respect and honor each other, and just really sharing what you appreciate about each other. We were actually just talking to our neighbors last night, and the girl was gone for a little girls trip, and her husband was watching the kids, and I'm like, so you probably realize how much you really appreciate having her around when it's just you with all the kids. He's like, oh my gosh, yes. But like, actually saying those things of what we value and what we appreciate about each other, and really understanding, okay, like, I respect all of those things that, like, you do for our family, and like, let that be known and heard.
So, I'm gonna give her a test. Or no, our mentors did this with us.
Okay.
I did. What does men require?
Men want respect.
What does women require?
Love.
So, if you're a dude, show love to your wife. Men, respect is a huge thing. So you want to make your husband or your wife feel those things, and on top of that, you might need to know what their love language is as well. If there's certain things that you do and she keeps repeating it, you gotta pay attention. Fair God, you gotta pay attention to that, and that is something that maybe they want you to continue to, that is something that fills their cup up. Same thing with men too. There's certain things that men would kind of hint. If you keep doing that, that will continue to fill their cup up. Now, we're not going to be perfect. We're not looking at perfection, but progress is what you're looking for. So as much as you can do that, it goes a long ways. And I hear a lot of conversations that people have. I think I would say all humankind want to feel appreciated, right? They want to feel like they're loved, and they want to feel cared for, and all those things come in a way of expression, right? If you think about it, somebody who's working somewhere, if they don't feel appreciated, cared for, or respected, those things can make somebody leave their job. So, same thing with us in our marriage. It's something that we got to work, just like she said. It's something that we have to work through. I think some people like after the wedding day, they're like, this is gonna happen. Slide. We're gonna be good. We're gonna be straight. We got married. We're good. We're not. Nah, you gotta work 24/7. Just the honeymoon stage. Like you gotta work. Let's put it down. I'm just gonna put it that
Man,
way.
you just act like it's so bad.
No, I'm not saying it's not bad, but it's just the reality of okay.
If you want a good,
For
healthy
some
marriage, yeah.
people, for a lot of young people, I think you get married and you lose sight of you look sight. I mean, I did. I'm gonna be honest. I did. You look sight of okay. Just because I'm just married doesn't mean that these things are gonna happen naturally. Right, it's something that you gotta continue to express for your wife in order for you to continue to get your cup filled up. Because if she doesn't feel as appreciated, it can put some thoughts in her head like, does he even like me? Like, you see how those things can ripple into things that are not good. So for me personally, like those are something that you gotta work. Just because we say you gotta work doesn't mean like it's gonna be like pain in the butt. Make it fun. Make it something that you both enjoy doing, right? Like they always say, when you get married, don't stop dating your wife. Like keep doing that. I need to start getting better at doing that, right? But I'm just praying our kids are growing. That we get to start doing those things again as they grow and mature. We're trying. We're trying.
Well, and the truth though is, it doesn't have to be extravagant going places. Like to me, like dating me can just be hanging out with me on the deck. Like
I mean, that's what I'm saying, but not. Women, we can sit in our living room for 2 seconds and there's going to be 5 kids that just jump into your house.
Right.
That is just the reality of where we're at right now. So the way that they grew up, like, don't get me wrong, we're still going to parent them. We're still going to want to know what they're doing, what they're up to. But it gives us a little bit more freedom to be like, okay, one-on-one. She, me, my kids can be out playing and I can see where they are. And I know they'll be fine. She was like, can I go work out and see what they're doing outside? I'm like, they will be okay.
Yep. No, and that's something that I did want to definitely share is like, if you do have young children, it is so important to not like lose your relationship in the midst of like going and raising them up, because it can be very challenging. So just making sure, even if it's like a 10-minute you and your spouse time, or if your children are more grown, we have a 13, almost 14-year-old who is active in sports and things like that too. So if you're like going crazy with all of the activities with your kids and your life almost is like centered around them, like making sure you still have that bond together, because sometimes kids get grown out of the house and then you're like, what's this was my whole life, so making sure that your marriage is essential and that you do have a very strong bond there first, and then then give to your kids after that marriage bond is tied first.
Well, folks, marriage is a beautiful thing. Don't look at the way I talk and be like, I don't know how to get married. No, it's a beautiful thing. But just like everything else in life, even, all the things that we want to achieve, it takes some work on our end, right? That we have our responsibilities. And when we care to those things and we do those things and we strive for progress, right, and perfection, things you will see the beauty of marriage, and it will be a good, healthy marriage. And don't be afraid to lean on other people. Like find some people who are strong in their faith that have, Don and Cleta are what, 35 marriage?
More than that.
More than that.
Like
they've been married more than I've been living in my life. So they have come beside us and they have helped us immensely. So don't be afraid to look for people like that who are just strong in their faith and willing to help couples. And they will sit down, they spend time, and they love doing that. Like that's the beauty of it. They love doing that. And just as much as we're learning from them, they're like, we're learning from you guys too. So it's not just in one way. They're not gonna tell you what to do. They're gonna help you find your groove and give you advice, and you just listen and you move through it, and your marriage will be.
Yeah,
So,
and I think that's good. Like finding somebody's marriage who you admire, where you're like, oh, they have a like, and asking them, what's a few tips that made your marriage strong,
yeah.
and asking those questions and really leaning into that process of like, okay, I want to have the healthiest marriage I can possibly can. What work do I need to maybe do on myself? And then how do I just show unconditional love, respect, support for my spouse, and continuing just day in and day out to know each other more, understand the ways that we're wired differently, how we can communicate more effectively, and that we can just build our life. For us, our life is built on Christ, and just allowing that to be the center and the rock, and then continuing to encourage and lift each other up, and being in that unit.
All right. You can find us on purposeliving.coach. We are on YouTube. We are on whatever podcast you listen to. Check us out. And if you're looking for more information on what we do, like I said, purposeliving.coach. We are out there trying to help people training to do life God's way. So we can help you train to do your marriage God's way. So feel free to reach out to us, and we would love to hear from you and reach out to you and help you in whatever way we can. We will catch you guys next week.